you're only as good as the quality of information that you get. You know, just because you might be a fucking missile, I bet you if you're on the wrong target, it doesn't matter. Some of you guys are like a supercar engine. You're that motivated, you're moving, you're doing things, but then you have no traction. You know, it's like you've got bald tires and then you can't actually use any of the power that you have. Like a lot of you, it's not moving in the right direction. You know, some of you are suffering pointlessly. Hey lads, it's good to be back on here. I don't know, some of you are going to be wondering where I've been. You know, I've been away for a while. I've had a lot of guys DMing me, asking me to do some more content. So I'm going to give you guys an update where I've been. I've been away for, I guess, the last month or two. Been away mostly from YouTube, that's for sure. I've been over in South America. I've been doing a lot of military training. So I was training with an SF unit down there. Did a bunch of training, some drills. Staying sharp, you know, it's personal security is a big thing now. You have to be able to look after yourself. I'm a firm believer in you only own what you can defend. If someone can take off what you have, like they can take it from you, I mean, do you really own it? You're only like a placeholder. If someone can break into your house and take all of your stuff and you can't do anything about it, I mean, you probably don't really own it. If the government can seize your assets, I mean, your bank can freeze your funds, like you don't really own it. You know, that's why I'm a big proponent of crypto. I'm a big bull in gold and silver too. You know, guys probably see me and think that I'm one or the other. You know, I'm all Bitcoin and I'm all crypto, but I'm actually a pretty big gold bug as well. I like silver, but gold specifically, because I know silver's just a higher beta version of gold, meaning that it just moves more dramatically, but it still follows the gold price. You know, it's just higher beta. It's like the Ethereum, and gold is more of the Bitcoin. You know, Ethereum has utility. Gold and Bitcoin is more just a pristine store of value. I think Bitcoin obviously is more pristine though, because it's mathematically fixed inflation. You don't really know how much gold they're taking out of the ground. You rely on the surveyors and things like that that are funded by the gold mines. And, you know, they can easily be corrupted. You don't really know how much gold exists in the world. I don't either. You know, you only have like research and things like that, which are going to again be funded by the miners. You know, they could just tell you a certain amount that it's much more rare than it is, or that they're not pulling as much out of the ground as they actually are and suppressing the price. You know, so that's why Bitcoin is good, because it's like, you know, you can see it, it's transparent. You can see how many Bitcoins exist. You can see how many coins are being rewarded per block mine. You know, you can see the inflation rate in real time. You know that every 4 years it halves, which makes it more scarce. You know, it's pretty much, I guess, the perfect pristine piece of collateral. It was a store of value. It's not good for payments. Payments, it sucks, but payments, it doesn't make sense unless, you know, hyper Bitcoinization happens and everyone has to hold Bitcoin. Because if I'm just paying in Bitcoin and then the guy is selling it at the store for dollars, that's just a net sale. Like, that's not a holder. That's just someone taking Bitcoin that was mine and then selling it. So that's negative for price, and actually quite negative for Bitcoin. And it doesn't make a lot of sense unless they're holding Bitcoin. I would assume banks will eventually, you'll be able to deposit Bitcoin in there and they'll be custodians of your coins and it will be insured. But that's, you know, probably 4 or 5 years down the pipe. I think with this ETF too, it's going to be easier to store coins, obviously, when the ETF eventually gets through, the spot ETF. But the you know, providers may not have as many coins as they say they have. They can still manipulate things, you know. Like the silver contracts and the gold contracts, I mean, those gold bugs know that all too well, that they don't have the physical spot silver. They're not taking it off the market for the contracts that they have. So it doesn't actually lock up that supply. It's just kind of trading paper, like, you know, trading thin air. They don't actually own what they're selling. So that's not good for price. It's good for price if it's spot, because then it locks it up. It's not being sold. They actually have to buy it from the market. But yeah, it's obviously hard to store, you know, many tons of silver, like physical silver. I mean, I don't even know where they would store it. That's the issue that people don't talk about with gold and silver, is storage, security. It's harder, it's expensive to secure an asset like that. You would need vaults and things like that. And the security of an asset like that, with inflation, continues to get more expensive. Like, you'd have to buy the land, you would have to buy the vault that you'd have to hire staff to watch it. You have to hire staff to transport it. All of that gets more expensive over time, whereas the gold price itself has been quite suppressed. So I don't think that they're going to be able to suppress it forever. I actually think by 2030, gold will be 5K or so an ounce, and silver, who knows? It'll probably be $100 or so an ounce, probably more. They probably have periods where it's higher, but the thing with silver, it's not scarce. Like as much as it says it's a precious metal, it's not. It's just like a semi-waste product. So it's used, which is a good thing. It has utility. It's essentially burnt because it's used in a lot of things. Gold is also, but not to the same caliber. Silver is still like an industrial metal. It's used in a lot of stuff for solar and batteries and things like that. They need it. Computer equipment, and that's obviously only going to be a product that's more needed in the future because we're still moving more further into tech world. They can still find new uses for silver. It's a good cool metal, so they can use it for things and it cools down quickly, which is cool. But yeah, so as I was saying, with gold and silver, it's the thing that's not talked about is storage, security keeps going up. So it's not really an attractive asset to buy and store. It's hard. Whereas Bitcoin itself can be stored on a small ledger. They can store it on multiple ledgers if they're worried about security. And they can store it in essentially a drawer. It doesn't need to have this enormous vault to look after it. 1,000 Bitcoin, it fits in a ledger. It can be on multiple wallets, but the same amount of value in gold would take vaults. So it's a different asset like that. But I am still a gold bull. I'm still a guy who believes that gold is going higher. I'm still a proponent of gold. I'm a big proponent of physical assets. That's why I like watches as well. Just got a new Rolex. It's gold as well. So I do like gold. I know in the watch itself it doesn't have a lot of gold, but I have bullion as well that I store. So I'm a big proponent in physical assets and owning what you have. Someone can still take your gold off you, but they have to physically take it. You're not relying on a middleman. It's not sitting in the bank, or I don't believe in if you have gold, you sit it in vaults, or that you have someone else have custody of it. I think gold itself is meant to be an asset that you keep custody of. That's a big part of the attraction. So some guys I know have the narrative push that it's either Bitcoin or gold, or gold and silver, that they can't all coexist together, and they can. They're meant to. Like Bitcoin obviously is a digital product, but gold and silver still has its value because it's physical. It's time tested. It's always been there. Man has used it for, if you believe that, thousands of years that they've been around. I do believe that, it has a lot of the properties that have utility. Gold, the jewelry aspect, it will always be there. I think they use it in dentistry. It still has some, I think, computer parts that they use it in as well, like in smaller amounts. So it's not all speculative, but I know guys like Schiff say that there's no speculation to it, but of course there is. Like there's a speculative element that the fiat itself will fail, and that gives gold some of its value. There's still fear involved in that trade, and the fear is the froth. The fear is the thing that makes it, more valuable. But I'm a big bull in gold in the future. I think gold still has a few X that it can do in, the next 6 years, 6 or 7 years. Just move slowly. But during that time, I do think Bitcoin will obviously completely outpace it. But that's not to say that one is bad and the other is good, because they're both good. They're just different. They're just different assets. But so what I wanted to cover today is I want to talk about money. I want to talk about crypto. I want to talk about the thing that I'm bringing out. I know that a lot of guys message me continuously, asking me about crypto, asking me about money, asking me about finance. And what I want to do, because crypto, the thing with that market specifically, it's very time consuming. It's not something that you can just guess. It's not something that I just look into for 10 minutes and then come and talk about it. Like it's something that I've spent many, many years learning. I've been in crypto since 2015. Your favorite guru on YouTube has not been in the market as long as me. Doesn't know the market like I do. If he's made money at all, he's only made it off his subscribers. I have my Lamborghini downstairs. I have millions of dollars. I've never sold a product online. I've made all of my money on my own prowess. I didn't fucking get push people into pump and dumps or release my own tokens or any of that crap or get rich selling NFTs. It's all been my own prowess, like my own doing. I had a fund, we managed 80, 90 million at the peak, US. And yeah, guys got great returns. We had many projects that went 100x. We're invested in Chainlink at like fucking 8 to 12 cents. And then invested in ICX at probably like, maybe 12 cents, 10 to 12 cents. It went to $12. Chainlink obviously went to $50. We're invested in Matic, the seed sale, below a cent. That's obviously went to $2.40 or something at the peak. I was an early investor in BNB at 25 cents. I did sell that too early. I sold Matic too early as well. So that's not to say that I'm perfect. Obviously I still made good gains. But yeah, it's very difficult to hold to the top. So people look at it and they're like, I got into Polkadot pre-sale, so I paid $1 a dot back, a few years ago. And I held that to $50, and obviously I took profit about 30. I took out, a few hundred K of profit. But I still hold some Polkadot now. I think I still have about 20,000 dot that I've held since $50. And it's, what now, like, I don't know, $5 or $6 or something. So it's completely crushed. But that's crypto. You're not going to get everything right. You're not going to be able to just, like, it's like a bull. Like, you can't always hold on. Sometimes you're going to fall off, and sometimes you're going to get stomped, in the bear markets. You're going to get trampled. But yeah, it's capital preservation is the main thing. Multiplying your gains, understanding that there's many buckets in crypto. That's not really talked about. Guys just sit there and think that they just want to put all their money in the next 100x, and they don't understand that that's a lot of risk. Risk mitigation as best you can is a very essential thing in crypto. You have to mitigate risk to the best of your ability because there is a lot of risk in that market. There's many buckets of crypto. There's like the absolute speculative plays, like coins outside the top 100. And they have to be a certain percentage of your portfolio. And then you have the more blue chip projects, like, you're up to Bitcoin, Ethereum, are the blue chips. Bitcoin itself is obviously the most pristine coin in the market. But that's not to say, that there's still zero risk. So you have to be able to, allocate your portfolio of wealth. You might not just all be in crypto. Like, you have your buckets of things that you're in. You go out to the higher caps, you're out to your 80, your Polkadot down. I'm not saying to invest in those, but I'm saying that, there's still more blue chip projects. Guys don't understand the difference between the fucking calibers of projects. Projects like Polkadot, projects like Ada, you have Charles Hoskinson, you have Gavin. They have a history. They actually know how to build projects. I'm not saying that both projects are perfect, because they're not. I'm not saying both projects are better in Ethereum, because they're not. But they also have a treasury and things like that. They're also paying their devs. They're actually developing the project still. Whereas a lot of guys now are being convinced to invest in all these meme tokens that are just influencer pump and dumps. They're all heading to zero. So a lot of guys are going to be shaken out of the coins that will actually recover to the next cycle and pushed into coins that are only there to enrich influencers. Like, they have zero utility at all and zero value. And I know guys will say ADA or something like that has zero value, but it's still speculative. Like, the chain still works. I think that the chain sucks. Like, I think that it's pretty crappy. Like, it's buggy. If they put the DEX on it, it's very slow. But that's not to say that, like, it still works. Charles Hoskinson has still built a project. I think he has his issues, but when Ethereum eventually has its big run, I know that ADA, I would imagine, will stick around to the next cycle, and people will speculate that he's going to get it right because he's continually building. Same as Polkadot. Gavin himself was helped out with the Ethereum yellow paper. He's a part of the Solidity, like, he's a part of how all of that crap works. So he's got a track record. I don't know about him as a person, I don't think that he's fucking great. But that's not to say that the project itself doesn't have legs. But it also has headwinds. I know all about the issues that they're going to have into the future. They have a lot of locked tokens, which will eventually be distributed. So, yeah, a lot of the information that I know is high-level information. Like, it's not crap just teaching you how to buy pump and dumps and, yelling at you to go 10x long with Bitcoin and pretty much just flip a coin with your net worth. A lot of the shit I know is how to make it over one or two cycles, because that's what I did. Like, that's what I've done. Had made, I'm worth over $10 million. I was worth over $10 million before I even turned on YouTube. I didn't get on here. I'm not on here bashing my symbols to try and get you to buy crap or, monetizing YouTube. Like, I don't care about getting revenue or any of that crap off it. But what I want to do is I'm going to have a crypto product launching. So what I'm going to do is, and you don't have to buy it, I'll still talk about crypto and things like that, like I do now. And I'll still have my Telegram announcement channel where I talk about crypto. I know some of you won't be able to even afford it yet, or maybe you don't want it, and that's fine. You don't have to buy it, and you won't be able. Some of you might not be able to afford it yet. So the free channel itself will still give you advice on how to get richer, like how to actually make more money, and also learn to invest. Because much like I was saying on my announcement channel today, it's not about, like, the whole world has changed. A lot of guys like Buffett, guys like Dave Ramsey, guys that were from the past where you could just be the man working a normal job and still be able to fund a family. Like, maybe you were just one income house and you still had a house and you're still paying off a mortgage. You still have, like, paying for your wife's stuff and your kid on a one income. That's finished. Like, that's not coming back. That's fucking so far gone. That dream is dead. And a lot of people haven't adapted to that yet. They don't know that sort of stuff's never coming back because of inflation. They don't understand that inflation is a feature. It's not a bug. Like, guys think that, inflation is something that the government's trying to control, and they're not. The government's letting it run hot because it devalues their own debt. Guys don't understand that. Like, a lot of morons jump on here and they're talking about how the US is accumulating all of this debt in interest. But if they're paying 5% rates on their own debt, but they're actually devaluing the dollar 10%, they're paying back with weakened dollars. Like, people don't understand that they're still actually making 5%. People don't understand, like, the shit that matters. Like, they don't understand depth. Like, there's no devil's advocate. They just see things completely on the surface. They don't understand that inflation is designed to stick around. It's dollar destruction. They're essentially printing dollars so that they can buy everything. It's like Monopoly. They're going to own all of the assets. Like, it's pretty obvious. It's not just the government itself that will have it, it's the corporations. And what might happen with this Bitcoin ETF, BlackRock and things like that, will eventually hold a large part of the coins. And they can eventually vote on forks and things like that. And they'll have own large parts of the infrastructure, and they'll be able to leverage the miners and things like that to do their bidding, because they'll then eventually own large parts of those companies. And then they'll eventually be able to censor transactions, censor countries, things like that. Like, that's so inevitable. I know the average guy who kind of is still a bit of a dreamer doesn't realize how they work. But yeah, they have all of the money. Like, everyone works for money. If you control, like Monopoly, if you're the banker, like, everyone's going to do what you want. Like, eventually, everyone works for money. Yes, you might have enough money where you don't have to take their shit, but over a long enough time frame, everyone eventually has to take their shit. Because publicly traded companies, they'll just buy a large part of the stock and get on the board and then leverage the company or fuck the company over. How BlackRock and things like that can work very easily is they own large parts of the media. They just start using them as an attack dog to go after certain people, certain companies. They downgrade the stock, things like that, so it's not a buy, it's a sell. And then normies and things like that sell out of it. So they can do a lot of damage to companies, especially if they're publicly traded. So yeah, the tail ends up wagging the dog because they just have all the money to push. And yes, it is investors' money and things like that. But people won't care either because they're going to get a good return. Like, that's the way that the game's played. Money controls everything. And guys still think that it's banksters and things like that, like banks itself, that are running everything. It's not. It's these funds. So that's a large part of that. And it's a large part of what I'm going to have this course out. I enjoy teaching guys about crypto. Everyone asks me about crypto. Face to face, I get a lot of guys ask me about it. Online, I get guys ask me about it all the time. And yeah, I know that guys ask me about it and investing in general because I have a lot to teach. My style is going to be very different to the style of some boomer, because a lot of the boomer stuff you can't emulate now. Like I said, they had the strong wage, they had strong wage growth, they had cheap assets. Your parents and grandparents buying houses for like 20K when wages were still quite strong comparatively to how they are now. Since then, inflation started running hot. Inflation's pushed up to, 8 to 12% probably now. It's probably had periods after COVID where it was like 15 to 20%. So, yeah, that's how they take from you. That's how they extract, because your wage is growing at 3 or 4% a year, and they're running inflation at 8 to 12 on a good year. But now, and they've had periods running at like 15 to 20%. So every year they're stealing like that, 6 to 8% off you on a good year. So that's how they take your money, because you're climbing a grease pole essentially. Like, you're gaining a 3% rise, yes, but then the dollars that you're using have dropped like 8 to 12%. So every year you're worse off. Like, every year since your parents, the inflation has started to run hotter and hotter. So it's by design. Like, it's like the monkey climbs the grease pole and doesn't wonder why he's going further behind. Because each person, each generation from here will have to take a lower quality of life. Because maybe you're on 100K a year and you're setting your retirement up. Maybe you're doing everything perfect and you're setting your retirement up so that you'll get 100K a year into retirement. And that's, you got your super, you got everything, you're doing everything right, like the way that you're told. And then what 100K can buy you today is not going to be the same lifestyle that it can buy you in 30 years. Like, the lifestyle that buys you in 30 years will be a third or less of what it is today. Like, that'll be the fucking bread line pretty much. So the consequences now of not being able to invest, not being able to multiply your money, not thinking into the long term, like thinking into the future, it's going to be drastic. It's not like the old days where, people actually were pretty tolerant and people had money and things like that. So the people who have can kind of help out the people that don't have. It's not going to be the same world. It's not going to be the same as it was. Who will suffer also is women. Will suffer a lot, because they're being told that they don't need a man, and they do. So you're going to actually see homeless women and things like that much more into the future. But again, like I've said before, a woman is still going to be tolerated to a point, because someone somewhere will still be like, I want to have sex with that girl. But a guy, if he's a fuck up, like if he doesn't manage his money and things like that, it's going to be very difficult for him into the future. So it has to be managed by investing. You have to be able to multiply your money, which means that you have to be able to lean into tech. You have to be able to look into these somewhat speculative plays, which means that you have to be able to understand risk management, risk mitigation, and portfolio allocations. That's the most complicated thing, like how to structure a portfolio to actually get good results while also protecting somewhat to the downside, having some downside protection. I see some guys telling guys like, to buy Hex and crap like that, and put all of their net worth into it essentially, because it's going to go like 10 or 100x. And those people, have been buying since fucking like forever and now financially destroyed. So you have to understand like greed and also risk mitigation, portfolio allocation. If you think something's going 100x, the risk is going to be monumental. You don't have to go all in. You can put a few percent of your net worth in and still have a great return, if that's true. You don't need to go all in on those sort of plays. Like, crypto itself is not an all-in play for me by any measure, because I know that there's still risk to it. I'm not one of these moon boys that doesn't see both sides. Like, I see all aspects of the thing. I'm not emotional either way. And I'm not one of those guys that's excited standing there with my crypto lottery ticket being like, yep, this is my only way to make it. I need this token to go 1000x and then I'll finally be able to move out of mummy's basement. Like, you have to understand, portfolio allocation, risk mitigation. That's the biggest thing with crypto, with investing, because it's a long game. You have to understand that based on your age is based on how much risk you can take. If you're 50 years old and you're looking at retirement in 10, 15 years, you can't take the same amount of risk as a guy who's 20 can, because time will bail him out. You might be, 60 and you've got 5 years, and you might have to take your retirement in a bear market, like if you don't play things smart. And, you might be all in on some crap that is 80% down during a bear market, and now your retirement has arrived. So you have to be really careful, because you don't want to have to sell your assets at the wrong time and take a massive haircut. So you have to understand cycles, waves, You have to understand the 4-year cycle with crypto. I know guys say the 4-year Bitcoin cycle, many will say it's not real, but it obviously is. Like, it's designed that way by the halving. It restricts supply. It's like a hose, and then it puts a knot in it, so less fucking water comes through, less coins are coming through. So theoretically the price should go up, but it also is that way. Like, it's always been that way. I know some people will say this time it's different, but until it's not, that's just what you have to base the information off, what the information that you have. So yeah, I know a lot of guys are hurt right now financially. Like, I see it all the time. I just bought a Lamborghini. I just bought a new watch yesterday. Dropped 50. I bought a Lamborghini. It was like 320 euros, 320k. It's about 500,000 Australian cash, done. And I know people are hurting and can't really imagine doing that. But that's only because of my own investing smarts. That's because I actually know what I'm doing. You didn't pay for my Lambo. I didn't convince you that I was rich and then you paid for all of my life. I actually am rich and got rich on my own. So I'm the guy that can definitely teach you how to get wealthy. Like, I can teach you how to be rich. And like I said, I'm going to drop a course on crypto. How it's going to run is it's going to be a course where it goes for, it'll have an online component which will teach you crypto. It'll be teaching you over several videos, and there's going to be some documentation as well that runs with it. And then there'll be a mastermind if you want to join that. Again, there's no pressure. You don't have to join. You don't have to be there if you don't want to be. If you don't have the money to be, I understand that. We're pushing you to join. And yeah, there'll still be stuff that happens on my free channel as well. And yeah, the stuff that I go into in the paid will be obviously more in depth because I'm going to be spending a lot of time doing it. I mean, a lot of the time that I spend on crypto now, I used to run my fund. A lot of the time I used to spend in that. So I'll be meeting startup teams, talking to them. Yeah, portfolio allocation, allocating investors' capital, which is more risky because it's not your money. The biggest rule in funding is never lose the client's money. And that I've never had that issue. I've never had an issue of not multiplying their money. But I don't want to take investor capital because it's a lot of fucking, I don't know, it's less freedom. It's not something that, like, it's hard sometimes to allocate so much money as well into crypto. Like, you got 80, 90 M of investor funds. It's difficult to just allocate that much. Like, there's not a lot of liquidity, to even deploy that much into certain tokens. It's not that easy to spread it out either. There's some downside risk as well. A lot of people, even if they have a lot of money, want to get crazy returns too. I'd have guys where they'd have a few M invested, and I'd be like, what's the sort of strategy? Like, what are you looking at? What's your hope return every year? And they would still be like, I want 100% every year, which means that they have to take, obviously fairly substantial risk. So, yeah, some people get too greedy. And they're a bit unrealistic about what they want. So I would often have to reel them in and tell them to be more risk adverse rather than lose money. Some people don't like to hear that. It's easy too. There's a lot of fund managers or guys that will just tell them that they can get them fucking crazy returns every year and then actually lose their money, lose everything. But that draw still does it for them. So they'll still rather, come to me and be like, oh yeah, you're telling me that you can do this, but this guy's telling me that he can get me 100% returns in a year. And I would just say, go to them. And I knew so many that lost all of their money with someone else because that guy was just making bombastic claims and then like liquidated them or just disappeared with their money. So a lot of it comes down to, risk mitigation, trust, having a track record, having a fucking record of success in that field. Once you burn your name and you do actually lose investor money, that's it. Like, it's not really easy to rebrand after that. Look at guys like Logan Paul with his crypto zoo scam. Like, he's still getting harassed over that. For him, I think it was a couple of M that he took, but for him, that's not a lot of money. Like, he could have just made that another way. Like, he has a massive audience. I'm sure that he could have had sponsorship stuff and things like that from something else. But yeah, so that's why you won't see me attached to any rug pulls or any of that crap or like, releasing my own stuff because I know most of the projects in that area are scams. It's just a way to bury their followers, just extract money from their followers with a rug pull. A lot of people don't care if they hurt the people that count on them. Someone trusts you with their money and then they just fuck them over. But that's not what this is about. It's about, realistic things. None of the, projects that I tell you to invest in, I own large stakes in or any of that crap. Nothing that I'll tell you to invest in is going to be or telling you that I'm invested in is going to be some project that's like, 500 in the market cap. 90% of my allocation is in the top 10 currently for crypto. So some of the projects that I do have, ones that I think will do very well. I have a few on the smaller cap side, but I don't know, I'm not being advised to shill them or paid or any of that crap. They're just a few of the smaller projects that I think will do very well next market. Maybe, make a 10x or a 50x, a couple of them. And they're ones that I'll talk about in the channel, but they're not ones that the team's paid me to talk about or that I'm, shilling or something like that. They're just ones that I've actually invested in myself because I think that they have good elements to get good returns. But again, the risk allocation is based on that there are high risk. A couple of those smaller projects, I think I have about 5 or maybe closer to 10% of my allocation in for the crypto allocation. But again, the others will bail me out even if I lost everything in that field. The others would, like, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and the blue chips will bail me out over time. So it won't matter as much. I'm not going all in on a project that's highly risky because that's how you lose everything. And then you can't really restart when you lose everything. That's the thing that is a big deal. You can never lose money. Like, that's the thing that matters the most. You can ride your 4-year cycle, but if you don't sell and then you take the full round trip almost back to, we're back to the all-time highs of 2017 now. So people have been crushed. Theoretically, if you've held that whole time, some people won't really have much in the way of gains. I was selling Ethereum at 38.50. I published a sell call. I made, sold millions of dollars worth of crypto or Ethereum at 38.50. I bought back. I started buying back at about 1,500 or 1,600. I sold a long at about 1,800 and made, I think, 130K or something like that. Bought this watch. So, and it's just the way that it goes. You have to be able to sell. You only make money when you sell. Like, you sell and then ideally buy back the low swing. That's what makes the 4-year cycle so profitable because you gain an extra few multiples than if you just held. If you just buy Bitcoin and say, I'll hold for 10 years, yes, you'll still make money. Yes, you'll do well, likely, unless something happens that causes it to fail. But if you can sell the swings, like, you can make multiples more than you would have made because you buy back, and you can actually often buy back double as much as you had, so your position is bigger. But that means being able to sell the swings. I'm not going to be on here telling you to trade. This isn't a day trader channel or something like that because a lot of that is just gambling. It's just guessing. Like, I'm just flipping a coin. I have no insider information. I'm just flipping a coin that if Bitcoin will go up and down based on some technical analysis, which is mostly bullshit. Whereas a lot of the information that I do have an edge in. I have information that I talk to teams. I talk to many guys in funding. I've been in that field for years. I know projects that are going to be successful. I know, teams and developers and startups that are going to do well. I know what to look for. That's all rehearsed. I talk to a couple of guys that I know that run exchanges. So I do know a lot of stuff, I guess you would say. And a lot of that information is high level information. It's not just stuff that, you just get easily. Like, it took me a lot of time to learn. And in a lot of cases, it actually took me a lot of money to learn because I had to lose a lot of money to really get access to those people and that information. Like I said, I've been in since 2015, so I've sat through 2 bear markets. So, lads, that's what I'm going to be focusing on now. I'm still going to do this YouTube, still do this channel, and camera died. But, lads, where I was at, going to finish up quickly now, is, this group, it's going to be launching, that's going to be my focus. But don't think that I'm not going to still do this free stuff, because I will. All of this free content will still be posted. I'll still be posting and helping you guys. I'm not going to be only posting to people that pay. I'll still be posting my free stuff on here. I'll still be posting on my Telegram announcement channel. I post my market research at least every few days on there to keep it up to date. I think that the guys who want to join the group, great. It'd be good to see you guys in there and meet each one of you individually. But For the guys who don't join, maybe you don't have the money or something else, you'll still get the free content. Maybe you use the content that I give you to build your wealth and then you can join. I know not everyone is going to have enough money to join, and that doesn't mean that, you can't still learn. Still take my advice on here. It's going to be a crypto group, but I hope that it becomes like, a bit more like a brotherhood in there, and that I'll be able to teach you not just crypto, but many things. If there's a demand for other things, I would consider myself a master in pretty much every field. If it comes to crypto, money, investing, women, lifestyle, networking, building a brotherhood, building a business. I think that I've done all of that to a high level. Guys can see the guys that I consider brothers of mine. They are of a high caliber. Guys can see the businesses that I built and companies. Like I said, I had a fund and we managed 80 or 90 M. US, it's a considerable amount of money. In crypto, it's not a massive fund. I would consider it a mid-size. But still, we started from nothing. And the investors got a great return. That's the most important thing. Like I said, that they don't lose money. And guys can see the lifestyle that I live. My life is very good. Today, it's 5:30 p.m. here. I wake up each day and can do pretty much whatever I want every day. I make 500K a year passive. Even if I didn't get out of bed, I still make that. That's 10x or more what my wage was when I was in the army, working 10 times harder. But this is why I built out this project, this crypto project, because it keeps me on track. It's the weird thing about when you get everything that you want, you get money, you've got the time, you've got the girls now, you've got the Lambo, you've got I want to go to this resort, or I want to go away to South America for a month and learn from an SF unit, and I'll spend 20 or 30K on training and also travel and all of this stuff. Once you can do anything that you want, it's hard to stay on task. It can be like, it's like the hedonism trail. You fall down the path where it's like taking, I don't know, Valium or something like that. You take one, you feel good. Then a month later, maybe you want to start taking 2 or 3. And then a month after that, you want to start taking even more again, just to get back to where it was. I used to see it a lot with people that took drugs. It's called chasing the dragon in that space. They would say that it never feels as good as the first. It's easy to fall down that path. So when I help guys, it sort of keeps me grounded. It keeps me moving forward in that direction. And I enjoy helping guys. I know what's coming with I wouldn't say a massive recession or a depression, but I would say that it's going to be like, a 50 or 60 year transfer of wealth from the people who are around now, like the individual, to the funds and things like that. They're going to end up owning more of the assets. So I think that even 60 or 70 years from now, the next generation, owning a house will be very rare, especially owning a house in the city. I think that it'll be much more of a rare thing. Like guys where I used to go to school and that, guys would be like, yeah, my mum owns a house and my dad's paying this off or they're doing this. And I think that will become less and less common. The assets will eventually just be more for the rich and the funds and things like that. And the renting and, being a slave under a lease and things like that. Like when you're leasing or when you're like, renter, they can put a lot of clauses and things like that you have to abide by. Your place is in jeopardy. When they bring in social credit and social scores and things like that, if you're considered defective because maybe you have an outspoken opinion or maybe you have beliefs that don't align with the government or whoever's in power currently, they might set it so that you can't rent, you can't get a lease. So finances and, control of your money and things like that, you have to learn. That's why you have to learn about crypto, because for now it's seizure resistant. In the future it might not be, but we can only deal with the information that we have today, and today it's the best, to me, version that we have. Because if you have gold, yes, it's good to have it. Gold I very much agree with, but if I need to get out in a hurry, like if I'm in Ukraine and I need to leave, do you really think that I'm getting kilos and kilos of gold across the border when I go to cross through the fucking border checkpoint and I have 10 kilos of gold hidden in the back? Like, what are the odds that they just take it off me? It's less likely as a thing. Versus if I just have Bitcoin, I can just send it to someone else or just take the code, or I can just remember the code. So yeah, that's to me the best option for just easy. If you can transfer it, it makes a big difference. So lads, that's my take today. That I will be launching this group. I'll be launching the course online. You want to learn crypto, and the group's going to be on crypto, but if there's demand for other things as well, I can teach anything. I teach all of the foundational stuff. I'm not doing, guys message me quite often, at least like a couple a week, and ask how much to have like a one-on-one counseling or something like that. And I know that because I had counseling with Kevin Samuels, probably talked to him for like 10 times. And that was valuable to me, but it just doesn't make sense for me to do it. I don't want to do it, and it doesn't make financial sense. Even if you pay me like $1,000 an hour, I have to allocate that time over. I'd rather just run a group and be able to run it at mass. If I was to do that, I would rather be able to have Zoom meetings once a week and then I address everyone at once. But yeah, we'll talk about that in the future, maybe, if there's demand. But lads, that's my take for today. And for the guys of you who are doing the work, I know that it's not easy. I'm not someone who jumps on here and says that you're all fucking stupid and that, just because maybe you don't have your wealth under control, or maybe you're not good at many things, that it's all your fault, like you're all fucking useless. Because you're only as good as the quality of information that you get. Just because you might be a fucking missile, but if you're on the wrong target, it doesn't matter. You're using all of it's like being a supercar. Some of you guys are like a supercar engine. You're that motivated, you're moving, you're doing things, but then you have no traction. It's like you've got bald tires and then you can't actually use any of the power that you have. Like a lot of you, it's not moving in the right direction. Some of you are suffering pointlessly because someone told you that it's best to develop your trauma, like you're doing a bunch of crap that doesn't matter. So I don't jump on here and blame you, and say that you're fucking lazy, because some of you aren't. I'm sure some of you are. If you're a fat ass watching this, you're probably fucking lazy and you should be losing weight like I did. I lost the weight. I was a fucking 120 kilos at 19. So what's that, 260s? 19, no muscle. So I was about 100 pounds of fat, more than I should have. And I did the work. In 1 year I lost 30 kilos or more in 1 year. So I know what's possible if you're actually motivated. I'm not someone who jumps on here and tells you things that I've had the most genetic advantages or I had all of this easy life. A lot of people only watch me because they know that I've had a hard life. Like I've had a life that I don't think any other influencer has had, or anyone who, is online talking, certainly not in the position that I'm in. A lot of people who have had the life that I have had, that would be the end of them. So when I come to people and tell them, it's because I've been in the darkness, like I've been in the trenches. I've done all of the development. I've started at zero. I've come from a family that are like lower middle class. I would say that I've had some definite difficult points in life. I've seen things that other people probably haven't, and certainly not seen it at the lengths that I have. I've done many things, many hard things. So that's the information that I bring back to you, someone who's done all of that. So I went through that so that a lot of you don't have to. You can take the lessons that I have. I was a guy who was 20 years old before I even hooked up with a girl. And now I'm 38 and can have most girls without too much difficulty. But that's only because I developed the foundational stuff. It's not about tricks and crap and everything you just say these lines. That's shit. Like life is not about that. It's about who you are. Like life is very visual now because you have Instagram and things like that. You can't hide. It's not like the old days either where women didn't know the value that they have. A lot more women know that they're valuable now because guys tell them every fucking minute. There's so many simps online that constantly inflate their ego. So you have to be the man. Like you can't get by on tricks and crap. You have to develop all of you. So as much as I'm talking about this crypto course and things like that, I think that there'll be definitely an avenue to do a lot of the other things, because I think that people need to learn. But the thing with me is I can teach anything. I can teach anything as a guy who has receipts in every field. But I can't just sit online. It's very time consuming. I'm not the performing monkey. I actually have shit to do. My business is not based on just standing here and smashing pies in my face and pouring buckets of water on my head. I have multiple businesses outside, and I have a life. I could jump in my Lambo. I could have 2 fucking girls here sucking my balls. So I don't really need to sit in front of the camera. So it's a thing that I do just to give back to guys, and I would hope that it's appreciated. I get guys message me and say that they appreciate the stuff that I do, the things that I say. So I respect that. So till then, lads. So I think that that's definitely enough for today. And until next time, so where it's going to stand now, I'll be dropping my course soon, probably next week or 2. I mean, the content is done filming, but I'll be away for a few days. I have to structure it all out. And then I have a team that will run the rest of it. But if you join the group, it will be only me talking in there. You'll have access to me. You can message me on there. You can message me other questions as long as they're respectful. I'll answer them to the best of my ability. You'll have access to my mind. It's a big thing. I'm a guy who is great at everything. I mean, it's not really not being humble either, because I can say that with the highest level of receipts, and it's built from nothing. So it's a thing that I have a great level of respect for myself for. All right, lads, until next time.